and we love you so much every time you tune in Church of Uganda Family TV. Do you have oneness in your marriage? Do you have oneness in your family?
Actually, this is what God has called married people to.
We need to go back and appreciate the plan God gave us for that family. The plan God wants us to have. We need to work hard, and God will bless the works of our hands.
Amen. Good evening. Let me hope you're so amazing. You're watching Family Talk Show with me, Brenda Mahoro, every single Friday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. And you're very welcome. Those ones who are traveling back home, I pray for journey mercies. Those ones that have lost your loved ones, I pray God to emanate. And those ones that are having their graduations, congs upon reaching this milestone, may God richly bless you and may God really be in everything. So we are here with Family Talk Show, and let me hope it's a beautiful evening out there. Let me hope you're not stressed. Let me hope you're not depressed, because trust me, this is Family Talk Show and everything is going to be sorted. Don't worry. So, and let me begin with this quote from C.S. Lewis, who said, "Love is distinct from being in love. It's not merely a feeling, it's a deep unit, well maintained by the will and deliberately strengthened by habit, reinforced by the grace which both partners ask and receive from God." Yes, both partners have to sit down and ask it from God. Like the Bible says that, ask everything in my name and I shall grant it to you. So today we have an amazing couple. You have seen them very often because they have good words that soothes our souls and mind to really have a vision that moves on in our family. So that's why we have them again. We have Mr. John and Mrs. Anita Othieno, who are going to be taking us through expectations in our marriage. We have a lot of expectations. What do you expect? Your expectations fulfilled? And if they're not fulfilled, how do you go about it? What are the solutions? Very welcome, Mr. John and Mrs. Othieno.
Thank you. Thank you, Brenda.
Let's begin with the beautiful Anita. Please introduce yourself again and again. Very happy to have you on Family Talk Show again.
Thank you so much. So happy to be back here. We are always blessed and humbled to be part of this ministry with Family TV. I'm Anita Muchisha Othieno. Been married to Mr. Othieno for the last 8 years. We are making 9 years very soon, and we are still celebrating each other. Thank you.
Wow. Mr. Othieno, please introduce yourself.
Oh, thank you. Good evening, viewers and all those that are glued to Family TV. It's a place to be. Delighted to be back here again to share about our marital journey. Just to share tidbits, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another, as the Bible says. And so we pray that as we share, you'll be blessed. I'm John Othieno. My background is in IT. I did software engineering in my undergrad. Currently, I'm a student at School of Public Health, doing my master's, and I'm concluding my research in data science and prediction of disease. But also I minister with St. Francis, Fathers Union, Marriage Ministry, and also I teach at Ecuray.
Wow, that's amazing and beautiful. Today we're talking about expectations in marriage. Sometimes when what we expect in life, it does not happen in life, we really feel sad, we feel depressed, disappointed, angry, all those things. So basically, just Anita, give us an overview. You know, when us girls are looking forward to get married, we have a lot of expectations. Charming prince, a prince who is going to cook for you, a chef. Sometimes when you come back tired, he's going to cook for you, a breakfast in bed, all those things. So those are the expectations sometimes we have. Who has 6 packs? So
They
what was
begin
your
disappearing
yeah? So
along
take
the
us
way.
through what were your expectations? Yeah, in your adult before you committed.
Wow. Of course, I had so many of those expectations. Like any other bride who is getting closer to their wedding day or to their one and only handsome they have accepted in the whole world. You know, in life you go through a lot as girls. Many come on you, but you decide to this one. You're like, let me risk my life. You know, it's almost a risk because you're not sure human beings can change.
Yeah.
And you're like, this him, let me put my life there. And the expectations were so many, but good enough towards our wedding, we underwent a counseling session with St. Francis for about 3 months, and some of those expectations were watered, and they're like, calm down, calm down. What you expect, actually, what you get is what you do there is what you get there. How you live life there in marriage is what you receive there. So I don't know whether you've been disappointed. Maybe you expected pizza, I expected breakfast in bed, or I expected to get flowers. I'm one of those who love flowers.
So that was some of your expectations.
I expected maybe to get, when we were dating, I used to get some of those flowers. Maybe I expected this time they will come.
But you see, I'm an IT person. I'm not a
But you
gardener.
can ask me how many times, maybe on my birthday and maybe after 6 months. And when I was growing up, I used to plant so many of those flowers at home. My parents would testify. And I really loved flowers everywhere in my room, and I thought I would get flowers and flowers. Those so nice things, so many of them, to be loved. When we were dating, during our courtship, he really loved me. I was imagining now, how about when we get married? How will this love be? Like someone love you, you can feel the love, and you're treasured and cherished and appreciated. Of course, I expected to have it more when it gets to marriage. And of course, most of those expectations have been fulfilled and even received much
Thank
more.
God, thank God.
You know, the Bible talks about that God has good plans for us much more than we can imagine or not even think of. So most of the expectations have been fulfilled, but others you have to understand. But it's really it's good. It shouldn't scare anyone to really close to marriage. It's a better way to go.
Yeah. As in,
Expectations in marriage are quite an interesting topic, and just as she has shared, we all come with expectations, definitely, to get a spouse that will be loving, will be caring, will obey you, of course a good cook, all these things, and then you get into marriage and you realize that yes, you will get some of them, definitely some of the expectations will be met and some might not. And just as she shared, the session of counseling was very important for us, because we try to put our expectations at a realistic level, because this person that you're expecting so much from is actually a human being like you, and meaning they are limited. They also have their challenges. Probably they also expected you to be a good cook, just as you expect them to be. And so when you get there, you need to strike a balance a bit. And over time, you get to realize that it is wiser, it is ideal that you turn those expectations into actually part of your responsibilities. For instance, if you want a good meal to be cooked, it would be good to get into that kitchen together with her. Probably you might just pass the salt. That makes a difference. And at the end of the day, the product will be much better. At least either it exceeds your expectations or to your expectations. So we have a role to play concerning these expectations, so that we do not, should I say, overburden our spouses, because they are human.
Now, talking about expectations, I'm not going to leave alone this thing of, I'm single. So there are expectations you write and you feel like, hey, this Prince Charming, will he have this all these qualities that I'm writing down? So what are those kind of difficult questions that maybe you have to ask before you commit, because it's part of also expectations, because you may feel like, I don't have to ask this, I expect, like you assume that my Prince Charming has to have this kind of quality that I'm writing down.
Actually, we would really want our viewers tonight to accept or understand with us that these expectations are, like he explained, much what you expect to find there is what you do there, or it's one of your responsibilities that you do there. What you do there in marriage, when you cross to marriage, is what you're going to find. So expect what you're going to do there. It is not going to be chance to jump into marriage and miracles and wonders happen to you, or like it's going to be a bed of roses, like they always say. It is your it is what you're going to do there, as of course as God guides you. It's not our own, that those have excelled in marriage. You know, some marriages are okay, others are complaining, others. So it's not that those who are okay, it is they are so sharp or so wise. It is the grace of God generally. So if God can give, if you ask God's mercy and grace and wisdom to do our responsibilities in marriage, we are going to find our expectations met. For example, if it is communication, when you're relating or dating, we always talk more often. You're calling all the time. In the morning, there's that podcast in the night until midnight tomorrow morning, and you don't get tired, and you're wondering whether when you get married, you're going to continue talking that much or calling him all the time. You know, when you even have a worker who is in those relationships, you and almost because all the time they're on phone and they don't get tired. So if you expect to enjoy that in marriage, it is your responsibility to have it in marriage. Continue that communication, continue calling him even when he's the other side working, continue writing those chits, continue statusing them, continue calling, continue WhatsApping them. Don't get your phone and you're WhatsApping all kinds of relatives and friends and you're not WhatsApping your spouse, and you expect communication to keep sweeter in marriage. So it is your responsibility there to do it, and what you expect there, when you reach, do it and it will work.
I think that is very important, because if you notice, oftentimes when relationships are breaking, it begins with that I expect him to call me. I expect her to call me. If she hasn't called, then I will not call. And now remember, now you're in marriage, and you have brought in this kind of mentality that, you know what, if she doesn't do something, I also want to do it. But the longer you take to call, the longer you take to communicate. And before you know it, one day has turned into two, then it is a week, then 2 weeks, you have not talked to each other. Especially for the people that are probably not in the same geographical location. And I can guarantee you that a month down the road, you barely know each other because you don't communicate. So there ought to be someone that breaks that ice. Silent treatment in marriage is it's very dangerous, because your spouse is wondering what you're thinking, what is going on in your mind. And so if the two of you have actually adopted the same kind of approach, before you know it, you'll be before your marriage counselors and saying, I no longer understand my mate. Why? Because you allowed this gap to grow. So if you desire to be called, I suggest and propose that you break that ice, pick the phone, load that packalas, and call your spouse.
You know, Mr. Osieno, when sometimes in courtship or dating, you feel like those are the things that should be comprised in dating and courtship, calling, Auntie talked about posting them on status, having that packalas, what. So they cease out. I don't know why some couples cease out to do all these things, and they feel like now we are in marriage. There is no texting. There is no posting them on status. So why does it die out? Is it the unrealistic expectations?
I think we shall emphasize that marriage is work. Marriage, it is not chance. You work at it. Even salvation, you know, the Bible calls us to guard our salvation jealously. Even if this marriage, you have to work at it jealously. You have to work on your marriage. Don't just be there and expect it to work out by chance. Do you pray for your marriage? Do you fast for your marriage? Is it something that is sacrifice time for, or you just there in the evening hanging out with every other meetings and you're married and you expect your children to be okay and you expect the marriage to go on well? You have to sacrifice some time and give it family. Family, you have to work at it. It does not chance. God enables us to have it nice, cheerful, but we work at it. God gives us the grace to work at it. For example, if we talk about finances in marriage, they bring many issues, but if you purpose as a couple that for us we shall not be slaves to money, you know, the Bible talks about money is the root cause of all evils. It is nice in any marriage, in any relationship, but how you as a couple decide to handle it, or one person can actually decide to have this marriage okay if the other one is not playing their role, and one is like, let this marriage work, and you do your responsibilities in that as a wife. If you're a wife, the Bible calls us to submit. If you're a man, it calls them to love. If you do your part, it always works out. So those expectations, we have a big role to have those expectations met in marriage.
Yeah, wow. So you talked about guarding your marriage jealously. Guarding, like working on your marriage jealously. So, Mr. Othieno, what have you done to guard your marriage or work on your marriage jealously?
Okay.
The practical things, that is what we're talking about.
This is very practical. I spend time with my wife here. She can testify to that. I think we've been blessed by the opportunity of being together for more or less most of our time. And that, in a way, has helped us to adhere to each other. That aside, we pray for each other. I pray for her. She prays for me. We really present each other before God. Every day, every evening, as a family, we find time to pray together before all of us break off to go to sleep.
Every morning. And
every morning before we get out of the bed, we also pray together. So it's something that has kept us going. On top of that, we belong to a marriage fellowship, and that is the Chiti Jokoleda Matuga Marriage Fellowship on Gaza Road. And I take this opportunity to actually send them greetings. They're a good community that has actually nurtured us and helped us to grow. In marriage fellowship, you find people that have been in this for longer than you have been. Then there are those that join you when you are there, and each one of you has something to share or bring to the table to enable the other people grow. And by participating in these fellowships, sharing, finding or identifying couples that you open up to either pray with them, share experiences, seek for advice, how to navigate around different issues in marriage, you keep growing. So for me, that is how we have actually managed to work on our marriage.
Actually, we've also purposed to, in this marriage of the Othienos, to be open to one another. That openness, or that term we can call oneness, we work at it intentionally. We work at it, we keep one. We make sure I know what is happening in his life, and he also makes sure he tries to be open. He's not someone I talk more than him, but he tries. If some things they don't make sense to him, coming home and he's talking about the other story and the other, but I ask, some marriages, they are all not the same. But take a step, and if you are seeing a gap somewhere, see how to bridge it. I will ask, so what happened at work? Did you take what? How was your lunch? How did you find out, so that you get to know what's in the other person's life? Or he will travel somewhere up country and come back. How are they fine? The only answer is fine, but maybe I would want to know more beyond fine. I will ask more details. So we try to be open to each other, to know what is happening in the other person's life. We know each other's passwords and phones. We don't hide those things, because after all, we agree to be one. If it comes to money, I know that different formulas that work for different marriages, but for us, we have purpose not to make money. This money should not be our slave. If there is money, any of us can use money, any of us can access which ATM to use, which money to use. This money is for all of us. I can't be keeping that money, we call that chika's money, that side money. So I keep it for I keep it for which children? For children that I will have. I don't find any sense of hiding something, and maybe you know how a man will spend all the money. If I'm keeping some common attention, but I'm keeping this for, we can't eat all, but we have something. Though it will get finished and I guess also eat the other one, but it is all your money. So, but the point, we try to be open. If I discover something that he has not tried to communicate, of course I'll be disappointed, because the rules here is to be open to each other. And I think it does not just come, there has to be love, there has to be oneness, there has to be the grace of God for that smooth running in every marriage.
And just to chip in, our journey of openness and transparency began, I think, even when we were dating way back before. I remember the very first time that she visited our home country, and I oftentimes observed that people put up a show, especially concerning where they come from, and especially when they are to be spouses intend to visit. So I didn't see the need to hide where I come. That is where I come from. That's where I was born. And we moved home, and from the reaction when we came back, she's like, I thought, I think she was a little bit disappointed. But in a way,
you know, you meet people in Makerere University, you can imagine so many big things behind there.
But what did you see? Did you, were your expectations fulfilled? No, like a hint, some of the things.
Of course, the expectations were not fully fulfilled, but for us it reflected the fact that, yes, we have work to do, and so we have to do this together. But what I wanted to share is that that background helped us keep things simple. When it got to our functions, because the truth, she knew the truth, so the expectations are not high. I didn't have requests like we need 6 limousines, probably a chopper to fly us, because I mean, you know your background, you know what is available. Even between the two of you, you know what is on the accounts. So those that are probably hesitant to open up to your spouses, this helps a lot with managing expectations, because the truth is known. Someone might actually assume you have a lot of money. And why they assume you have a lot of money? Because you don't tell them the truth. But if they got to know that actually this is how much is available, probably the expectations will come down to reality, and they will cease to be over-demanding. But the fact that you've kept this information from them, their mind builds a certain picture and looks at things from a certain perspective that might be difficult or not unrealistic.
You see, also, you know, you got the opportunity to open up, but there's also a couple that has just started dating. They are just in courtship, but they feel like, when I open up and maybe take Anita to my place, the expectations will die out, and like things will not be like, will fall apart. So what is that goodness in opening up? And when Othieno opened up, and then you saw where he was coming from, and it's like, okay, so this is where I'm heading.
You have work to do.
What is that goodness in opening up? especially in a younger relationship?
Actually, most of the time, I learned actually opening up from him. Even those little things that me I was still hiding, like from my family. You know, those funny stories in your family, like, you shouldn't hear about this, that people there quarrel, people there what, you're trying to hide. I would find he's so open, like he's not hiding anything from me. I mean, this is someone you're going to become one, that two become one. You are one. Like there's nothing you're hiding from the other person. You're supposed to be one. So those other things, of course, you get so humbled, or you feel this person is respecting you, they've accepted you the way they are, and they expect you to receive them or love them the way they are. Or if you're disappointed, you have a right to go. After all, they are going to be in your life, and you should be satisfied with someone before you move on for marriage. So if it's better to actually open up. If you have a child somewhere, open up. If you know that you're not good at listening, your ears don't work, please talk about those things. Let them know and accept you the way that you are. And that is when there's true love. True love, you love someone the way they are. We are all created in God's image, but we are not perfect as human beings. So with our weaknesses, with my weaknesses, I always tell him that thankful, accepting you with all my weaknesses, because sometimes I check myself, I'm like, I think this guy is better than me, but he still loves me, meaning he has just accepted me the way I am, and you see someone honestly loves you the way you are. Even when you've done a mistake, they still love you. Actually, people out there will get annoyed with you. At your workplace, they might change, they might what, but your spouse will still accept you with your mistakes. So it's good to be so open and be loved the way you are.
First John 4:18 says this. It says, there is no fear in love, but perfect love drives out fear, because fear has to do with punishment. The one who fears it's not made perfect in love. And this is very true with our story that we have shared with you, that when you open up and there are no dark or gray areas in your life, it keeps life simple. Those expectations that become realistic, because she knows what is on the account, she knows your background, she knows where you're coming from, she knows your challenges. For instance, you might be earning some money, but you have a number of siblings that you're supporting, but you're keeping quiet about it. You want to do it stealthily and quietly. And this side, your wife expects a little bit more because she knows you have money. But the truth is you have X, Y, and Z that you're covering. Open up, and it will keep life simple.
Wow, so let's have a quick breather, but we're going to be coming back still more on that, those expectations, what they can cause into a relationship. Some of them expect their spouses to take the garbage out, and some of them expect to give them flowers, like Anita. And some of them expect to send them text messages, post them on statuses. So some of them have not yet been fulfilled. So how do you go about that, and what it can cause to the relationship? So let's have a quick breather, but we are going to come back.
This is Church of Uganda Family TV, enriching lives.
Family Talk Show, and we love you so much every time you tune in Church of Uganda Family TV. Do you have oneness in your marriage? Do you have oneness in your family?
Actually, this is what God has called married people to.
We need to go back and appreciate the plan God gave us for that family. The plan God wants us to have. We need to work hard, and God will bless the works of our hands.
Amen. Welcome back from that break. From that short break, you're still watching Family Talk Show, and we welcome you. In case you've just joined us, just know that you're watching Family Talk Show, and please don't be selfish. If you're just watching it for the first time, you can call on your wife, you can call on your husband, you can call on your children, because we have content that is rich, that you can have it with your in-laws, with anyone that is not going to be out of the world. So please don't be selfish. Call on your neighbors to come and join you on watching Family Talk Show, because we have amazing counselors here taking us through their expectations in their marriage. What they expected, is it fulfilled? Have they been fulfilled? And what are those solutions? If you're not fulfilled, how do you go about them? And in that relationship that you're in, you might have just been married just for 2 months, for 1 month. You were talking about what are those causes. What are those causes, in case you just joined into the relationship, or you're in marriage, maybe for 1 week, maybe for 2 months, maybe for 1 year, and then you expected, or you assumed your spouse is going to take garbage out. I was reading, there was some book I was reading, and this couple, there is a couple that really they assumed that maybe because their dad would wake up in the morning and take the garbage out, so when she also went in the marriage, she thought that her spouse is also going to do the same thing, like she assumed. So they went even to an extra mile to go to to counselors to tell them that, and then when the counselor went ahead to ask, do a brief background, she realized that this was the cause. Taking garbage out, that is also an expectation. Giving gifts, there's different love language. If you meet a spouse and remember you did not discuss about it, and then you expected, like Othieno and Rit and Anita expects to be given flowers and is not fulfilled, that is also another expectation. What are those problems if expectations are not fulfilled?
I think we need to work on accepting one another, or go knowing that you're not going to meet an angel or get 100% of your expectations fulfilled. You're just reminding me of a story that I read recently of a girl just from honeymoon. When they reached home, the man expected her to cook. He expected sit back and food comes and water boiled in the bathroom, and like you sit as a man who was married after working hard towards this wedding function, spend a lot, you're not sleeping, you expect to reach and relax and feel at home. And this baby girl whose mother was doing for everything since childhood, cooking, maids, everything, reached and she sat also expecting to be loved and things to work out for as usual. And the man waited, and they began grumbling just after honeymoon, and he was like, if you can't cook, what are you for? You're not mopping, clothes are there, you're not washing. And she called the mother crying, this man has changed, he's all turned against me, he no longer loves me, just because what she expected is not what she found there, and also him. So we need to calm down and accept one another, and do not put our expectations so high, and try to be lenient. I expected this man to understand that this girl's background, they were maids, they were what. So if he really loves her, you can calm down, maybe first do the work together little by little. After all, if you're dating someone's girl maybe from the state house or what, there are some things we need to check before you get married. And know this one, she had never cooked, had never made karo, had never peeled matoke, put those dirty things on the hand. So when you close to marriage, we need to understand and be a little lenient and understanding, and give one another room and time to grow and get there. It doesn't work out within one day. So, and maybe the man also, the girl, you also have to go beyond the usual and know some of these things that a man expects me to cook, but I'm not able. So try. Don't sit back and be like, me, I don't know how to cook. Are you trying? Are you trying something? So that this marriage, you know, when you work hard from this side, the man works hard from the side of the husband, and the wife, you work hard
from your side as a wife, with the help of God that I will keep emphasizing, you meet at God, you meet there, and you find this marriage is actually sparkling because you're all working from your side and my side, since we are all weak human beings, but God will enable you to get there and you find your marriage is glorifying God's name. Yeah.
For example, if she doesn't know how to cook or wash, we work very hard. Those initial months,
Buy washing machine.
buy washing machine, those things, because this marriage has to work out. But also, I think we talked about expectations, and the challenge about expectations is that the expectations are in my mind, but they are for her. I expect her to do X, Y, Z. And the same applies to her, that it is something that she has conjoined in her mind that I'm supposed to do. But it has not been communicated. Let's learn to communicate these things. If you expect warm water, sir, Mr. Husband, please mention it so that your spouse gets to know. If you expect cooked food, it doesn't hurt to actually ask. Some of these things seem obvious, but they actually are not. If you expect flowers on your birthday, please mention.
I expect you to do a surprise for me.
No, that is why you become
Anita, do you support it? That I should tell you what I want?
You see, Brenda, the thing that I've raised is there are some people that have grown up to campus, and at home they have never celebrated a birthday. So suddenly, this is a person that
Do research. Do research.
I do research for academic purposes, so I might actually not.
Oh, the end, we're going to come back on that.
This is Church of Uganda Family TV, enriching lives.
Trust me, this is very amazing. Expectations in a marriage, and the studio is on fire. Othiona is saying that I really need to be reminded by my wife that she needs flowers. And Anita is saying that I shouldn't be reminding you. You should be knowing. Do you need me to remind you even of your anniversary? No. So, Mr. Othiona, you were still telling us that you have to be reminded of which I don't think that it is ethical. Anita, do you think that it is ethical?
No, I don't
Yes, it's not ethical.
It follows the factors of demand and supply. I am not aware you need the flowers.
But I expect you to do
good enough. You've said expectations. An expectation is in your mind. So the thing is, keep things simple. If you notice that actually this day is going to pass by without you getting flowers, my sister or my brother, you pick that phone and notify the person that, you know what, today is our anniversary, and those flowers wouldn't do us bad. And you'll get flowers, and you'll be a fulfilled person.
I don't support it. Anta, do you support it?
I think I will also not support it this time.
Why are you not supporting it?
I think ideally him being the vice chair of Fathers Union, that is what they discuss as men. What do you discuss in fellowships? That's why we are calling upon people, if you're married, do not sit back in your home as a man and wife and think this marriage will keep sparkling. Join other groups and learn these, they call them cordials, these nice things to keep your marriage spiced. When you go for Fathers Union, St. Francis Chapel particularly, people in Fathers Union are so different.
Yes.
Men there, they're Polish, they earned, they know what to do on my birthday, on anniversary. I don't have to remind you to buy flowers or to buy gifts. If you really can't remember, well and good, I'll accept it the way it is and choose to be happy in this marriage without getting flowers. After all, it is not the major, it is not core. But if they came, they would put a smile and maybe you would be a happy man that day.
But so you see, the first group that we have,
these other days they're not happy.
The group of the two of us, that is the first group that I'm looking at. So if this group can't communicate about flowers, why do you expect the
I
other
need
bigger group out
surprise.
there to communicate?
Surprises are good
The
in a
subsequent
relationship.
times you'll get the surprise, but there's the first time. At least communicate the first time. Excuse me, honey, I expect flowers. Today is my birthday. Today is anniversary.
But do you know that it is different when someone like comes out of the blue and they just
So the
surprise
blue will
you
happen
and
the
they
next time.
remember? No, what if I remind you the first time, the second time, the third time, the fourth time?
Then you set a reminder on my phone.
I think maybe he's trying to emphasize the point that we have to communicate in this marriage. We have to talk in all the aspects. It's not about these flowers, but most of the things you have to see how to communicate. It may not be direct that I need flowers. Maybe you will say, by the way, my friend, my workmate got flowers on their birthday. Talk about it 2 weeks before. If you don't see it coming close at your husband, you know, he talked about how some people are raised up or where they grew from. So if you don't see it so close to them, see how to communicate. And most of these things you have to communicate early enough. Tomorrow I'll be going out at 7, tomorrow I'm staying home. We have to keep talking. We don't expect your spouse to guess some of the things that you need as a wife, as a girl. If you don't see them, some people are blessed, they are men research and they know some of these things. But if yours is not getting this, your marriage has to work. It has to work out. So see how to communicate in love. Of course, you not say, I need flowers on my birthday. Even if they came, you wouldn't feel that they are really, because you requested, you asked directly.
Yes. But there is always the first time. That first time you can ask.
And then let's talk about family background. You know, when you're getting married, you expect maybe your mother-in-law to be like your mother. So those are some of the expectations. And then you enter into a family, and then your mother-in-law is kind of different from what you expected. How do you go about it?
I love the point of the mother-in-law, relatives or in-laws. Most times when we are in this marriage, we always expect a lot from relatives, from in-laws,
To love
but
you.
you forget that you're also an in-law to someone, and your in-laws also expect something from them. So the way you expect to be loved, to be accepted, to be treated as a new mkamwana, as in, are you doing the same the other side? So I think it's a call for all of us to know that we are all relatives, some people, we are all in-laws, and even somewhere, then your mother is also a mother-in-law to some people, then you also, so let's go with this heart of love, and you accept it the way you find it. Love people the way you would want them to love you. And trust me, there's no one you can love and be nice and they will do the opposite. If you do that, those good things in that marriage, if you be so nice to your mother-in-law, if you be so nice to your sisters-in-law and brother, they will love you back. For me, that trick has worked for me, and abandoned all my in-laws and relatives because I know that trick. You love them, they will love you back.
By the way, what is the opposite of in-law?
In-law. Outlaw.
Outlaw?
Outlaw.
So the others are outlaws? Okay, I think I do not differ from her position, because you see, you desire to be loved, you desire to be accepted, and I think all of us do. So it's simple. You give what you desire. You love them, move out, be a people person, check on them, call, send them gifts, celebrate their days if you know them, if they are public family gatherings, attend and participate fully. And trust me, you'll be amazed at how relationships are built. So what you expect, simple, you give it, and it will return back to you in full measure.
But when you go with that heart of thinking, they love me, and after I had this and this story, that the other one is complicated, the other one is what, with that negativity, trust me, you receive that if you go with that negative bit. But when you go on your positive and you go with the love of God, to love people of God, you receive the love back. So when I see someone struggling with in-laws, with relatives,
Some of them have high expectations, and when they reach, they find there is a saying here in Uganda, which I'm not going to say. So they find it is the same.
I also know that saying.
I don't say it.
We're not going to say it. But also people know. People know the saying.
But it's that saying, I think, is from the devil. So it should not be said. It doesn't work. Let's love people and we receive. There's no one who can't be loved. The Bible tells us to love our enemies. When you're doing that, you be as if you're putting charcoal. So
it's on them.
do what is right. Even your enemy will look at you and they wonder, and they have no choice but to love you back.
By the way, what we are saying is it's not human effort. It is God that does these things in us. And we are cognizant of the fact that, yes, there are certain relationships that are quite difficult to navigate around. But by God's grace and wisdom, you will be surprised that someone that used to be your greatest nemesis turns out to be your best friend and the most reliable friend within that family. So just go out there and do what is right in the eyes of the Lord.
It's not easy to love your enemy. The way we are just saying it, love your enemies. It's not easy. Really, to just love someone who did
it's
ABC
like forgiving
and did to you, and you know it, and it's true. And here you are, you have to love them truly, not pretending, because when you pretend, people will always know that you're pretending with them, but you decide to love. It takes the grace of God to take that step and do it, and the grace is always sufficient for us to enable us to do those things that are beyond what the usual human being can do on their own.
Yeah, true. And then when time is really rushing out on us, so what are those because I know there are some of the people out there who are in marriage and they really got mismatched expectations. What are those solutions? And some of them are like, I feel like how do you even speak to your spouse? There is that issue of culture. Like you come from Kanung and this one comes from another part, Tororo. So like there is that gap of the culture. So what are those solutions of dealing with these mismatched expectations in marriage without maybe your spouse saying that you're nagging me? Because when you talk about something over and over and over again, you feel like you're nagged.
Thank you. I think the first approach is you need to understand that we come from different backgrounds. I'm telling you, even if we are all Baganda or we are all Bachiga, the truth is the way different families do their things is different. And so when we get into marriage, we need to understand that this person grew up for the past the 20 or plus years before you met from somewhere else and a different system. You also grew up from a different system. But now the two of you are meeting, and in one way or another you expect those same systems that you operated under to be working in your family. It is difficult. One, you'll need to arm yourself with the information that comes from probably these different backgrounds. And that is why the time of courtship is important, that you get to understand what kind of family is it, what do they normally do. Those long phone calls that you make, let them not just be about laughing over things, but talk deep, get to understand each other, where each one of you are coming from. It could be a different religious background. So understand each other from that perspective. Then two, learn to communicate. I've talked about communicating about flowers, and I know the ladies on either side were not happy with my comment, but that is the truth. Because you see, you have an expectation that your friend doesn't know about. And the best, well, the easiest way of working around it is you raise it so that they see how to meet it. And the subsequent times they'll probably be able to do it. So that enables you get to a realistic point where you lower your expectations to manageable, because you talk about these things. Communicate as frequently as possible. Be open so that if something has annoyed you, your spouse gets to know. If you expect them to kneel, they need to know, because they have grown for 20 years not kneeling. All of a sudden, you expect someone to kneel and wipe your feet. Some of these things don't just happen like that. So understand the backgrounds, then also communicate. Communicate.
Anita, your parting shots.
There's a story we've been discussing in our wedding fellowship of this lady who got married, and when she was growing up, the father used to lock doors, check if there's any insecurity in the house, move around. And here she gets married to a man. After supper, he just goes to the bed and maybe expects the wife or a maid or any other person in the house to move around and close doors and windows. And they were very disappointed for so many years. So the first years of their marriage, until when they had to communicate, like you talked about, you communicate, and they're like, but I expect you to do A, B, C, and D. And the man is like, but anyone in the house can move around and check where doors and windows are closed. So some of these expectations, we really have to not make them so high, and communication will improve something. If, until she communicated and kept, you communicate in love, you know, in marriage, and I expect you to close doors and windows to check. And when you communicate, they will respond somehow. It may not be worked on there and then, but it's good to keep communicating and try to lower your expectations. You talked about different cultures. These things, as you grow to get married, my friends out there that are planning to get married, just know that things are done different in different families. Personally, I come from the West, where matoke is our best meal. And I get married to someone, matoke is just like nothing. Is it breakfast? Is it a meal? It doesn't taste. And for me, it was my treasured thing. And here I had to slowly. We've been married for only 9 years, but trust me, I think I'm the best at making karo. And I think if you bring karo here and matoke, surprisingly, I don't know how it works out, but I'll choose karo because it's
now you've become one.
I'm changing, and I think he also eats some of the matoke. Maybe slowly by slowly we shall.
You know, would you also choose
I also know how
matoke?
to peel matoke.
Would you also choose matoke compared to kalo?
No, it's debatable. I would eat some of it.
Let's get out of here. Thank you for watching Family Talk Show. That was the Othienos for you. Very happy people. Of course, you can also engage them maybe on their social media platform. Do you have social media platforms?
St. Francis Chapel is our
It's our official social media platform, but I'm on Twitter.
Hey, you're on Twitter. Thank you so much. You've been watching Family Talk Show every Friday from 6 p.m. and to 7 p.m. It was very interesting to have you, but my parting shot is going to be in Titus chapter 2 verse 4. Love in marriage can be deeper and more selfless than in any relationship. That was in the book of Titus chapter 2 verse 4. But thank you so much. DJ Bantam was in.
This is Church of Uganda Family TV, enriching lives.